To this day.
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 Hey, you and Joshua, Thriller in Manila too.
Joshua don't want to fight, man. It's just plain and clear.
Put names out there, guys want to fight.
I don't know why people keep asking about that. Like, in my career, I've been nothing but straightforward, honest, and truthful. I know certain things that has been said people don't like because I am who I am. I speak how I speak.
You keep it 100.
I don't go around the bush. I'm either 0 to a 100. Either I like you or I don't. It ain't no in between or middle for me because I know what I want. You know what I'm saying? I'm a man of understanding and know what he wants.
So Joshua doesn't want it.
I'm a leader, bro. Everything adds out and even out for us.
Ngannou?
So, I tell you about the 50 million. When everybody should have known when the 50 million was an offer to him, they took it as an offer. After he asked for it, and he didn't take it, they should have known then. It was something fishy. Something was about him. You know what I mean? But even moving forward, Joshua don't want to fight. You know, it's certain information that I know, and it's certain information that the public receive from others. Now, as fighters, we got connections all around the world because we travel around the world. We know different people, and in boxing, we know that loyalty is very rare. Loyalty is very rare in boxing. They may say they love you and be your buddy, but trust me, they'll still take from you. So you got to be good. Man, let me stop.
And those are the words of Deontay the Bronze Bomber Wilder as he claims that Anthony Joshua doesn't want the fight. You know, I heard Wilder and his responses, his reasonings for Joshua not wanting the fight. He backdated to all the way in 5 years ago now, 2018. And the $50 million situation where he himself emailed Eddie Hearn. And it just made me wonder, like, okay, why would he do that? You know, that was kind of strange. Why didn't Shelly Finkel do that with the $50 million? And the $50 million was created because Anthony Joshua did say, hey, you give me $50 million, I'll fight him tomorrow. You know, and I think what he misconstrued, Wilder, is that he felt that he could offer Joshua $50 million based on a remark. Now, you can argue and say, well, he didn't take the $50 million. You know, they claimed it wasn't real. You know, we've heard that before. You know, and I always wonder what Deontay Wilder was going to get. Because if Anthony Joshua was getting $50 million, what is he getting? So let's say if Anthony Joshua would have agreed, and he did not say no, okay? He did not say, no, I don't want to fight. No. He said, let's roll. I remember it as clear as day, okay? And the strange thing is that he would go back to 2018, okay? 2018. But then skip right over 2019. Something more recent, where it was double the money for you. Not $50 million for Joshua, but $100 million for you. Your own payday, your own deal, your own subscription introduction with DAZN. And you turned that down. Now, the strange thing is, why isn't Deontay Wilder mentioning the DAZN deal? It's like it never happened to him. And it makes me wonder, like, what are you leaving out? Why are you leaving out what happened in 2019? But then yet you go to 2018 like, hey, this is what I tried to do to make the fight. See, because he said he wanted 50 million and he offered me 12. I turned it down. He offered me 15. We said yes. Then we said no. Okay, this all happened in 2018. Now in 2019, John Skipper came on the scene with an introduction of a multi-million-dollar deal, and it was turned down. If you guys don't know what happened in that meeting, John Skipper introduced Deontay Wilder. he was going to give him $20 million to fight Brazil, which he ended up fighting Brazil anyway because he was that stand-in mandatory somehow, right? So he was the mandatory, and that was just to bring him on the platform. So $20 million for that fight for mandatory. Then $40 million for Anthony Joshua, which is $10 million of what you supposedly offered him. Then you fight him again for another $40 million. So that's $100 million. Now, I've heard that the deal was different. It was 120. I don't know about that. I just know of the deal that I read upon, which I just explained. Now, again, this elephant in the room, this $100 million DAZN deal, why wasn't that spoke to Ellie Setback? Because this is Ellie Setback's interview. Ellie Setback reporting, right? Shout out to him. And it just makes me wonder, like, okay, if you're going to say it all. Don't tell us about the $50 million if you can't come up and explain why you didn't take the $100 million. You know, he said loyalty, but I'd be damned he didn't mention anything concerning that DAZN deal. And here's my counterpunch theory, okay? Let me counterpunch. The reason I believe that Deontay Wilder is not talking about the $100 million because that's something that he is not supposed to talk about, okay? Because after all, that deal was declined by his peeps, okay? Shelly Finkel, well, first of all, Al Heyman turned that down. And he knew exactly what to do. I think Al Heyman is not a Don King. I think he's a clever, a more clever Don King. Don King did things by force and intimidation. Al Heyman, I feel, does things by persuasion. You know, if you have their mind, you got them. All he had to do is say, you know what, that's Mayweather training money they offering you. And you know Deontay doesn't like Floyd Mayweather. So you knew he was going to be negative towards that whole concept because he didn't want to look anywhere under Floyd Mayweather, right? Because he doesn't like the guy. You know Deontay Wilder doesn't like Floyd. I don't know how Floyd really feels about Deontay, but Deontay does not like Floyd Mayweather. So when Al Heyman said that, that's what happened. And you know what else happened? His promoter at the time, Lou DiBella, hit the fucking roof. Why? Because the promoter did his job by getting Deontay Wilder, John Skipper, Al Heyman, Shelly Finkel all together in a meeting. Okay? And they talked about this structured deal as though this was going to be the solution. Not Eddie Hearn. Eddie Hearn wasn't the DAZN guy. He just promoted the DAZN app. He wasn't Mr. DAZN yet. So John Skipper superseded, pulled rank, and tried to make that fight happen on the behalf of Eddie Hearn and Anthony Joshua. But they turned it down. And it just makes you wonder, man, like, what side of the story you tell people versus the whole spectrum, you know? And him saying, oh, well, he doesn't want to fight. And that's another thing. Let me get on that, all right? This is a long one, all right? Stay with me. Do you guys just remember I did a video on Deontay Wilder saying a couple days ago that he's going to make the biggest fight in the world? And now you're talking as though you're warped back to 2018. You're that bitter, hurt, jaded person again. And it's almost like that's the last thing that ever happened between you and Joshua. That's bullshit. You know? And I'm like this. Listen. You can't boast about making the biggest fight in the world and then turn around and say, okay, hey, he doesn't want to fight. Now, I know what happened in the past, but you can't live in the past. You have to be that person that's willing to sit down and talk business on how this fight can get made. You know? Not, oh, hey, we tried with the $50 million 5 years ago. That's not good enough because you recently said, I'm going to make the biggest fight in the world with Anthony Joshua. So why is it that you're now backtracking? And I don't understand it. You know, and it almost makes me think like, okay, well, is this some type of game you're running? Because you were a couple days ago, you were all for making this fight. If you want to make this fight, you can't be emotional. You can't be a Tyson Fury and say, oh, you know what? He doesn't want to fight, so we're moving on. Now, to Deontay's defense, the Jermaine Franklin Joshua fight was announced today. Okay. And then the Dillian White rematch is next. You know, but then Wilder pretends like he doesn't know that he's going to be the prize in late 2023. And I don't understand it. Like, how don't you know that? It's the same shit all over again. Because remember in 2018 when Eddie Hearn booked 2 dates at Wembley, one for Povetkin and then another date in April. You remember that? And that was supposed to be for Wilder, right? But then these guys let him tell it. Oh man, they don't want to fight. They don't want it. You know, they're scared. He don't want to fight me. And I'm thinking, okay, let's talk business. What has happened? How do you know that? If you say, hey man, the public, y'all guys know one thing and I know the other, well, tell us. Don't talk about something that happened 5 years ago with $50 million because honestly, it's getting old. But anyway, you guys tell me what you think. Of course, please subscribe. And you guys been Counterpunch. Peace.